Welcome back, everybody, to our latest edition to the Quake Pro League, where we are well on the way through Season 2. And this is, of course, Stage 1. My name's Ketchup, joined by Flea, and our next matchup will be continuing our America's Marathon with nosfa and Effortless going head-to-head. Flea, what do you think about this matchup?
Another interesting series. Last time these two played each other was at the Quake World Championship or the Stage 4 finals, where it was nosfa who came out on top, 2-1 victory, but it was very close and very hard fought. And we have seen both of these players put down some good results. Neither of them has had the most convincing Season 2 so far, but I think this is going to be a very interesting matchup nevertheless.
And two players that are always kind of, I think, just on that climb, aren't they? You know, they're
Yep.
two players that have been here in Pro League since we began. And there is, I think, an increase. I mean, nosfa was a player that was incredibly high impact at the very, very, very beginning of Pro League. And he's been kind of up and down since then. Whereas Effortless is a player that he's always been determined. You know what I mean? Like, Effortless is a player that has always been kind of gunning for better results than he's currently getting. But he is starting to make things a lot closer, you know? And these are all small little details that over time, you know, they do eventually add up to that big standout performance, that tournament where you have just the time of your life, and then, you know, your confidence from that point can really skyrocket. And I think that both nosfa and Effortless, I feel like they're overdue, like some kind of recent breakout performance.
Yeah.
But I think they're so close. Both players, I think, are in a very similar boat in this respect, because they are so close to that next level, something that really puts them on the Quake Champions map.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at some of their performances in the past few weeks, we have seen Effortless take down Cygip 3-0. Very impressive showing against one of the strongest players in NA. And then we saw nosfa just barely lose to the Hang in a game that really could have been either player's win. So just as you've been saying, we're waiting for that breakout moment, because clearly these two have tremendous amounts of potential.
And that's what I mean. The two of them are so close. I know Effortless able to get those kind of results, and now we are dawning on the Stage 1 finals, so I think this is a great time to be on that rise. But I'm curious about those picks and bans, the all-important stuff, and we'll see what either side has gone with. So Ruins of Sarnath, the medium versus medium. Molten Falls, actually, having a Strog versus a Keel, the Scale Bearer being removed. And then we finish on the Tower of Koth, and there will be two light, high mobility champions, which, to be fair, on Tower, I think can be quite important.
Yeah, absolutely. It is definitely one of the larger maps where it's a lot more difficult to get around. Not that many straight routes that are easy to take, not a lot of easy angles as well. So having that light champion with that mobility definitely helps. Personally, very excited for this one. I think I've only gotten to Tower of Koth once, so this should be fun. But before we get to that point, first, as you mentioned, Ruins, Galena versus Ranger, and then Molten Falls, Keel versus the Strog. Now, Molten Falls, that Keel pick, I don't know about that one. That's a risky one, because there's not that many of those tight corridors where Keel really shines and where you can make those grenades work to the fullest extent of their capabilities, while you're still a pretty slow and easy target for someone as fast as, of course, Strog.
Momentum will play quite a large part in map 2, I think, because if Effortless kind of loses the lead quite early on, that speed alone of Strog might be quite frustrating to chase down. We have seen that with champions that aren't really known for their mobility, but, you know, this is all kind of on paper. Things could definitely go different. Ruins of Sarnath starting things off, though, the Ranger and the Galena. So that's going to be quite a nice kind of standard beginning, I think. But Tower of Koth, personally excited for it. I have commentated a big fat 0 times on Tower of Koth. That this will be a nice little opening. On a completely selfish personal note, I know that's not important to anyone else, but if we're talking of predictions here, Flea, who do you think has an edge? Because I think this is a hard one to call.
Yeah, well, that's why you get to go first this time. You put me on the spot last time and didn't even give a prediction of your own. So this time, Ketchup, I'm going to leave it to you.
There'll be one of those times where you're asked to give a prediction, one of us just goes, no, I don't think I will. But it is not this day. But if we're looking at these two players, I think that if we just go by history alone, just in the Pro League, I would probably give it to nosfa. I think a 2-1 is likely. But As of recently, I am really kind of liking Effortless because of the last few weeks of his. I think I'm going to stick true to my original predictions that I would tend to go. So I do think nosfa 2-1 is my bet. But it is one of those cases where a 2-1 the other side, I wouldn't be shocked at, but I feel like nosfa has the edge here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm inclined to agree there. Both players so far, they've managed to secure themselves 2 wins in this season, this stage of the Quake Pro League. So whoever wins will pick the lead over the other one in terms of the general rankings when it comes to wins and losses. But this could very easily go either way. That said, I do think we've got a bit of a brawl on our hands. nosfa, widely considered to be one of the biggest brawlers, just that raw powerhouse of combat ability. And Effortless definitely is not the kind of player to back down from a challenge. So you know that he's going to be there to meet that onslaught that nosfa is going to be putting out.
And I know that, Effortless, he's always been a player that is, sort of very pumped for his own performances. And he does have a lot of confidence in himself. And he's consistently, we've actually seen one of the things in Quake Pro League is that he is very good at those kind of tricky little, those trick jumps or those little things that you jump into a custom map and find some cool little trick that might give you some kind of edge on one of the the more mobility focused maps. Like I know we always remember his Nyx on Awoken is probably one of the more standout Effortless maps I remember seeing. But that was some time ago now as we load into our first map, Ruins of Sarnath. And right now, checking things out from Effortless's point of view. And already got the rail opening, good to go, hits the angle, and it will be nosfa. Not going to be too shy of that rail. The Mega Insight means that he can kind of stop the bleeding instantly.
Yeah, a good read from Effortless, and he's also the only one having done any damage so far. Railgun definitely helping him out a fair bit, keeping his opponent at bay. Aggressive push now though, and there's already quite a bit of a delay between the 2 items, around 10 seconds before the Mega is set to spawn. nosfa actually drops down. Effortless can orb right back up if he wants to, but he's going for the fight. LG looking a bit shaky, does secure himself the frag. I don't know if that was intentional, drop from nosfa.
The nature of that drop down looked like an accident. The fact that he's kind of looking for that rocket angle just to pepper a little bit of damage downwards, and then he kind of like slips off. It didn't look like that's what he wanted to do at all. Least of all with Mega about to spawn. It's not something that you would expect nosfa to do. So, gonna make the assumption it was a mistake. But you know what? If mistakes are made at the very beginning of the map, I mean, you never want to make one, but at least when you've got 9 minutes left on the clock, you can recover. However, that has given advantage to Effortless. He controls that high ground. He's got all the information. He is lacking cells for the lightning gun, but he was able to hit some rails beforehand just to stop the benefit of that. Oh, here's the totem get dropped down. So he does know there's going to be a totem down there near Heavy. Looks for more rails. Pushes in the steel and the lovely dire orb. Gets both, and he doesn't manage to go down. Nice play there from Effortless. Uh-oh.
Yeah, gotta be careful. Been some changes to the spawn to the last big patch, so you can't just rush out like that anymore. Not expecting your opponent to spawn on that side of the map. As Effortless now drops a frag to nosfa. Also shout out to him just taking out a totem in the middle of that previous fight because he knew that nosfa was heading straight for it to get that health injection. Really clever play from Effortless, the American player, as he's trying to set himself up for the Mega. That rail though, that's gonna make him think twice. He cannot contest anymore. Can't just try and brute force his way in. Will instead just have to wait and hear when his opponent picks it up. Unless he goes for the orb. But I feel like that's a bit too risky in this stage of the game.
Effortless currently sitting on a lead here. So if there are those major risks, not necessarily needed at this point. Heavy's been taken, so that gigantic delay between the two of them remains. Effortless finally has an opportunity to shut it down, and actually being quite sneaky, using this opportunity to maybe look for some potential hidden totems or something similar. Jumping down and losing out on Mega, though. Yeah, this is a bit of a interesting situation. Effortless deciding to kind of go down and look for some things to clear out, but he kind of gave up Mega completely. Oh, and another totem. 2 totems now back to back. That's going to just be not what you want. Not what you want at all.
And it also just gave nosfa all the information that he needed to figure out his opponent's exact position and land that rail as well. And now Effortless relegated to playing things safely. nosfa has got decent amount of armor, mega health to his name as well. Whereas Effortless, 4 points of armor. He knows that if he's caught off guard right now, it could very well spell disaster. So he's playing a bit of a hide-and-seek game, waiting for an opportunity to secure himself these small armors. And indeed, he will be able to do so. But nosfa still has a slight advantage in terms of stack, and also is sitting on the better rotation.
Looks at that immediate teleport. Effortless. Protecting the lead so far, rather than dominating with it. But if nosfa's not quite able to get any kind of significant catches yet, even with this push, nosfa, it's more about trying to keep both of the items so far, which, to be fair, as we move towards the later stage of this map, we're dawning on that 5-minute warning.
He didn't
Only
see
one
him.
frag.
Effortless had a clear sight of nosfa in the bottom right of his screen. He walked by, didn't see him. Luckily for him, that didn't result in any damage taken. Slight slip up right there.
Uh-oh, this could be bad. Immediately trapped and ambushed by nosfa. Perfectly executed. Stealth frag. I mean, Effortless almost getting a little bit too comfortable cycling the map, perhaps. And it's nosfa, that one trap that is sprung. What will the rewards yield? Effortless, he only has a rocket launcher here. That's not a lot to shut down the arsenal of nosfa, who not only gets a frag, but he gets the mega as well. This is the swing of momentum that nosfa was putting all that patience in for.
nosfa reading his opponent perfectly.
He actually had the perfect call out on that as well. Would have been a delicious rail.
I'm surprised nosfa didn't push in further when he had Effortless stuck down below under that platform. There was absolutely no way for him to escape, the exception of the orb, so that is probably the reason that nosfa didn't push in, knowing that if I drop down then he orbs straight past me onto the mega, I'm losing positioning as well as the item that is mine to claim. So better just to stick to his guns, know that he's got the lead, not play things too risky, and just cautiously keep tightening the net and closing down on his opponent.
Oh, a big teleport. Shotgun not quite able to do the job, and Effortless will drop for another time. 4 minutes. There is absolutely still an opportunity here. But nosfa, quite rightly, calling out the spawn and holding that light armor, expecting him to take it, and he will. But here comes some more wonderful LG damage peppering out. And I think things are starting to escape Effortless a little bit. The orb's gone for 20 seconds at least. However, yeah, up near that jump pad, there's plenty. Oh, the fake rocket jump sneaky.
This is definitely the time for Effortless to stabilize. He still has enough time. 3.5 minutes for 3 frags is entirely doable, but he has to stop the bleeding now. Just stick to the basics. Get himself that other small arbor. Put your base stack up to 100-100. And then just look for the right opportunity. Open with a rail, maybe a rocket. Take your opponent by surprise.
Here's the problem,
item.
Flea. He's only just about to take the rail. And he's going to get potentially a fight on his hands for doing it. However, if he can get out, I'm not sure because he is outstacked. Even with the orb! Looks for the rail, lands the shot! Effortless barely survives, but the combo kill. How can he recover from this? That is the question. He's so weak! nosfa! Oh, good lord. Oh, rude. Oh, dear. There's no way out of this one.
Yeah.
I mean, what can he do? He spawned right in front of a nosfa on the warpath. Starting machine gun. That's a done deal right there.
Doesn't even have the orb to escape it anymore.
Perfect. Cool. nosfa is reading his weapon pickups as well.
This is looking like it might already be the end for Effortless on this map, at least. Catch up. He still has some time. It's still entirely possible, but not with nosfa hitting shots like that. Effortless simply doesn't have any opportunity to even secure himself the weapons that he needs. Doesn't have rockets. He wants them, but nosfa is sitting pretty in that middle area of the map and denying any entry or access to that final weapon that he needs.
And with 2 minutes on the clock, 5 frags, it's one of those things, isn't it, Flea, where we kind of have to start looking at the next map, really.
Yep.
nosfa is significantly down on stack, but hitting a rail that's unreturned, I mean, that's not particularly amazing, because nosfa will be able to continue just playing this defensive game, where he's positioning himself on the map as well. How many times do we see players sit on this side of ruins when there's a minute and a half left to go? and it's just so obnoxiously annoying to chase people down. Because just listen alone to how much information nosfa has.
He's even going to be able to secure the heavy as well, land some nice defensive rail shots right there. And of course, he's got that totem that he's been hanging on to for quite some time, knowing that if Effortless gets to jump on him, he will still have at least somewhat of an injection. Oh, good rocket! Switches to the rail, doesn't connect, but I don't think it'll matter in the end.
I mean, the nature of Galena as well. We've got a minute left on the clock. If you got to get 4 frags in 1 minute and you hear Galena go, "Death is the only release," I'm like, oh, okay, great. Thanks. Thanks for that. Thanks for that, Galena. Just trying to have fun, man. You got Galena trying to take it away. You've already got a lead. You know, why do you need this health? You're selfish. Selfish. Lovely rail.
Yeah.
And nosfa. Solid first performance here. Effortless. I mean, it was nosfa looking for that one opportunity that turned that tide. That ambush that he sprung on LG. Effortless, I think, had lost sight of nosfa, and that LG was gorgeous in that fight. Combo kill with a totem and a rail. Nice, okay.
I mean, that just clearly illustrates how fast and quickly these single important situations can change the entire outcome of a match in a game like Quake, right? As you mentioned, that trap at just the right time allowed nosfa to pick up heavy first, move on to Mega, and so establish himself a very solid rotation that Effortless was unable to break for several minutes, thereby giving him a decent lead and burning enough time to just run away with the score that he had.
So it feels a little bit like, wow, I'm just looking at the controls. Well, actually, nosfa taking 14 heavies and 5 of them going to Effortless. It was just a matter of nosfa having heavy and the totems alone. We've seen talented Galena. When a talented Galena player has a lot of armor control and totems, it's like, who needs Mega? You know, it's not as necessary. It's a strength of this champion, especially in the hands of someone like nosfa, who is highly talented, but I feel like, Flea, that first map was quite an important one for Effortless to win, because we're going into Molten Falls now, and I think both of us weren't 100% convinced over the Keel pick, because it's going to be speed versus Keel, but on quite an open map. And even if we look at the items that are going to be taken there, you know, you look at Keel, and sometimes you think of him controlling certain items that are hard to challenge. On a map like Molten, even heavy is kind of out there. There's a lot of open space. Not necessarily on the heavy itself, but there's a lot of room around to build up the speed. Mega, right, maybe not, but I just think that on matchups alone, this was quite an important first map for Effortless to take, and he didn't quite manage to pull it off.
Absolutely, and I think that the biggest worry going into this map too is not that Effortless wouldn't be able to defend himself, right? Because he's got the stack, he's got the grenade, so when nosfa finds him, he should be able to at least put up a decent fight. But if he does end up losing the lead, chasing his opponent down is basically going to be impossible. Keel, one of the slowest champions in the game, has zero abilities to help him catch up to someone trying to get away, whereas nosfa, of course, he's got the peeker to play defensively and the crouch sliding to give him so much mobility, so much momentum on the ground as well, and that will make it next to impossible for Effortless if he would be in a position where he had to chase for the lead to even catch up with him. So if Effortless allows nosfa to get even 1, maybe 2 frags ahead of him, catch up, I think that this could be very tricky very early on.
And as we go into, you know, this is the long game, we always have to factor in Pro League, the fact that all 3 maps do get played regardless.
Yep.
We're going into kind of uncharted territory in map 3. So there's a lot to think about, actually, as we progress here. But Molten Falls, Strog and Pika versus Keel Effortless has had some impressive showings in stage 1 of season 2, but this was a matchup that I think is going to be quite tricky for him now. The nature of how nosfa took that first map, how the second he locked in control, Effortless really kind of struggled to get back in, and it's kind of, we can talk about this talking point until the end of time. It's always going to be relevant. It is going to be speed versus the direct opposite of speed. Keel is known for damage and tankiness. He is not known for being able to cycle around. So I'm, on paper alone, I am nervous for Effortless here. I don't want to be too negative, you know, I don't want to be a naysayer, but we will see if he's able to pull this one off regardless, because I would love to see us go down to a final map decider situation.
Yep. He just has to play a very guarded game in the opening minutes, right? He cannot allow nosfa to get 1 or 2 frags in the lead, because then he is going to be suffering and struggling for the entirety of this matchup. He has to play this passively and only engage in situations where he actually feels comfortable and where he has some good odds at overcoming his opponents. Because if he doesn't, and if he allows nosfa to pressure him too much and get that 1 frag advantage, things are going to be extremely difficult for the American player.
Looks like we're loading in. The Molten Falls begins. Effortless gets rocket launcher, spawn, and mega. So the fact that he's got a heavy machine gun already good to go. Not the end of the world for him. And both players take their items at pretty much the same time. So there's no delay. We can already see Effortless playing that patient game. Just in case he went around the corner. All of those grenades and a rocket launcher. He knows he's far enough away that he can safely pick up the LG without giving himself away. So that's not a big deal. And the Unholy Trinity locked and loaded for your boy Keel.
And this is indeed a pretty careful opening played by Effortless, doing exactly what he should be doing in this situation, as you mentioned yourself, even waiting, picking up the LG as to not give away his position with the sound cue. This is not looking good. It's already down. nosfa getting that first frag on the board. Effortless running right into the trap. nosfa reading him like an open book, cutting him off around the center area of the map. And now Effortless, he's got a chase.
A problem Effortless might start to have on this map too, then just how the main weapons that you kind of need are all quite spread out. And if you don't have one, it becomes quite obvious that you're going to try and eventually take one. So those rail angles become a lot more consistent. And the fact that Effortless, while he's looking to get those weapons that he needs, you know, nosfa already has them all. So while he's cycling around and keeping control, he's able to constantly damage you while you're taking the weapons that you need to get back into the fight. And already Effortless so far down significantly. But the important thing here, Mega, the next objective for nosfa. Wouldn't be surprised if he tries to shut down this light at some point. There it is.
Effortless, at least keeping this a close game. nosfa unable to really run away and build any momentum, but that is a good rocket from the Brazilian. Effortless hurting a bit. He was paying attention to how Dewey played this position earlier, just trying to juke out his opponent. If nosfa would come up for a confrontation, good use of the small items right now. Small armors are going to help him stay at least somewhat healthy, of course, because Keel can go up to that 125 base stack, isn't limited to just 100 points of armor, and that should help him when he does manage to secure that amount.
The problem with Effortless right now is that he's actually only got 1 rocket. And as Keel, that's not necessarily what you want. And the rocket now gone. He's run out.
I don't know if he knows, he still has the rocket out.
He's still got it out, and I don't think 100%. But that opening rail, certainly better than nothing. And right, he's been able to back off and get some rocket ammo, so if there is a close range fight, he can take it, but he's got to be so careful using the jump pad, making me nervous.
He missed a rocket jump. I think he tried to rocket jump. Oh, that's a bad rail to take. nosfa definitely doing most. What a beautiful little shot right there. Effortless. Too predictable, heading for those 2 health bubbles down below near Mega. And nosfa isn't going to let him get away with that.
I mean, it's so attractive, isn't it? 2 health bubbles close together. Like, you can't not go for it sometimes. You're just like, man, I need to heal now. But at this level of play, players will absolutely pounce on those desperation situations. As nosfa 2-0. Doesn't sound like much, but you said it yourself. If we see nosfa get a couple of frags in the leads, the mobility alone might start to be a real problem for Effortless. And hopefully for his sake, it doesn't really come through. He is able to take the Mega, but at what cost? He has all the weapons at least. So he's going to be able to fight fire with fire every given opportunity. But nosfa, he's just never in shot. I've been watching this whole map from Effortless's point of view, and so rarely nosfa's even in his line of sight.
I mean, we're only 4 minutes in, and this already feels like it's nosfa's game to lose, right? He's got such a mobility advantage that one of the only ways he can drop his lead is if he deliberately puts himself in a bad position. So if he still maintains his distance, plays a bit of an evasive tactical game and tries to read Effortless, which for the time being he's already been doing very nicely, he is going to put his opponent through hell trying to make this comeback happen.
More of this patient play from Effortless, unfortunately. Right. This is Keel at his most dangerous, but he takes so much damage going up the jump pad. nosfa is still at death's door, and this should be a pickup. And Mega spawning at just the right time. nosfa's not really going to have the weapon to answer back, and he does have LG spawn, but I think he's prioritizing Rail for a good reason. Play that game of distance, the angles. Rail will be more important than LG, fresh off spawn, and you just need to take down the inevitable Mega that you know Effortless has just picked up. So nosfa playing that one quite smart. And he's still in the lead, you know, by 1. It's not much, but it's enough right now. Oh, midair! So good! Oh, Effortless. That was a good sequence. That was a good sequence right there.
nosfa a bit careless right there, letting himself get caught out by Effortless. And Effortless is playing this the right way, using the right tool for the job. And again, nosfa just flying around the corner. He might be in trouble. Effortless actually taking some damage from his own grenades right there. And Ketchup, that's exactly what I was saying. nosfa being careless and just sliding around the corner, ending up in a bad spot. That's one of the only ways that he's going to give Effortless opportunities to get the lead on this map. Now, Effortless, though, is playing this very nicely, right? He knows what is the best weapon for this situation. It is the railgun. Hits can land instantly, no matter the distance. So even as nosfa is far faster than he is, all it takes is 2, maybe 3 of those railguns landing consecutively, and he will get himself some frags. So Effortless approaching this just the right way.
And we've only been watching Effortless's point of view on stream for a few minutes, but I've been pretty much watching his point of view the entire map. This has been his approach. Very slow, very calm. Not actually the kind of Effortless that you're used to seeing either, I might add. He is known for really liking like fast mobility himself. And it is nice to see the kind of layers that he can bring to the table. And he's played this matchup really well. Not only has he got things stabilized for 2-2, but look at the stack difference. He's got himself a respectable amount of items, at least enough to make it really prominent. Here comes the surprise stack at close range. nosfa is going to get some good damage. That rocket's certainly good, but the rail finished off with Effortless, who continues to impress. And now he's in the lead. 3 minutes to go. Good position.
Risky of nosfa to go for the peeker in that situation.
A couple of times he's risked it.
Yeah, absolutely. Not knowing exactly where Effortless is, but thinking he still has the time to get it off safely. But then by the time the peeker is actually deployed on the field, Effortless is basically around the corner already. So pretty risky from nosfa. Landing some good damage now, though. Effortless doing a good job at destroying the peeker with rockets, which isn't all that easy. Just stuck motionlessly right there, though. You could tell Effortless was just waiting for those rockets to start missing. But all of them did damage. And he was not expecting that. And that allows nosfa to once again tie it up.
A crucial map for Effortless to win right here. This is that difference between a 2-0 and a 2-1 either side. And especially as our final map, the Tower of Koth. It's not a map that we're used to seeing. So there is always that potential for there to just be that one player who's just a bit more experienced on it. You know, that secret weapon, if you will. And this will be an important 2 minutes for Effortless to see if he can take this one.
Still definitely within the realm of possibility. A base stack advantage is going to be helping out a lot, but those rails, definitely not where you want to be, and that will allow nosfa to secure himself the heavy. He could make it over to Mega on time as well. He probably heard the teleporter, knows exactly that Effortless isn't in a position to take the item. That will allow the Brazilian player to drop down and steal it instead. Effortless. I think that one rail exchange helped nosfa so much.
This is going to be a crucial minute. We're going to get at least one more... I mean, no, we are going to get more than one cycle of the items! Oh, dearie me! My man got sent miles away. That was a crucial ring out. And actually, a ring out in that moment when nosfa had that much stack? That is the absolute best case scenario for Effortless. I was just about to say we've got more than one spawn of the major items, 2 more cycles with a minute left on the clock. For him to play it carefully, play it safe, and then he ring outs nosfa and undoes all the work that he conceded. That was such a crazy play, and it worked wonders. And now Effortless in the lead, 20 seconds. This has to be one of the most sudden turnarounds we've seen in some time, Flea.
Playing
Can he equalize?
Misses this is risky. Oh! Lands the shot on the peaker somehow. nosfa! 5 seconds left. He just has to push it, and he does it! Finds the rail catch-up. We are going into our first overtime of the day.
And it's a scary fight for Effortless. He's only got the rail. He's only just spawned. Thankfully, the rail was unreturned, and he's going to be able to back up and take the rocket. So piece by piece, he is going to be able to fight this. Heavy spawns. This is potentially one of those games. One of us dies here, right now. Maybe not. nosfa, he was holding the angle, but the second he decided not to, Effortless goes around the corner. Mega, the next objective. The missed rail, that's going to be game over. Oh no, Effortless. He was so close. And nosfa, he took it away at the last possible second. That was an emotional last couple of minutes, I think.
That was, I feel like Effortless's disappointment must be palpable right now, right? That was a bizarre series of events. The drop down towards LG and then shotgun. Strange decisions made indeed. Waiting up there with the shotgun and the rockets out rather than LG, knowing that your opponent is likely to come up the bounce pad. And I also don't even know about that position to begin with, because you're not fast when you're playing Teal. I would have expected him to maybe set up more towards, say, the teleporter or that bounce pad over at Railgun, where you really have a small secluded area where you can make the nails and, of course, your grenades work to their most effective. But then setting up there and waiting with a shotgun and a rocket for your opponent to come up the bounce pad, that is so risky. And I think that was a catastrophical misplay for Effortless in the end.
And we have to give props where they're due. nosfa, that could have been an absolute disaster at the end of that map. The second that ring out took place and he lost everything that had just spent the last minute building up, that was a scary position to be in. And after that trade as well, I mean, that was where it almost all fell apart. And this was the moment. This was where everything kind of turned around. 5 seconds left on the clock and he's able to inch that shot out at the last second. Boom, right there. If he missed that rail, Effortless was going up the jump pad, he was going to run, and that might have been a done deal. That was the clutch shot, and unfortunately for Effortless, it was kind of like the clutch rail kept nosfa in the fight, and the missed rail allowed sudden death to 100% win the map for nosfa. So, a tragic end, no doubt about it, but no time to think about that now, because we are about to dive into some of the new stuff, and a map that we've definitely seen very little of in competitive, the Tower of Koth, the new edition. We've seen a lot of Deep Embrace recently, but not much of the Tower. And the Tower, we are seeing players, when we actually see this map get played, the fast champions come about. Because Tower of Koth, it's quite a large map, and not just that, but there's a lot of stuff to traverse. There's a lot of like platforming, you know what I mean, that you kind of have to do to get around the map. And Athena, it's a vertical map for sure, so that's going to help. It means you haven't got to use a lot of teleporters and jump pads to get around, especially teleporters on Tower. And then Anarchy, it's just speed, so I'm expecting actually quite a fun final map here, Flea.
I think so too. I think this should be fun, especially for the viewers at home, because this is by far the rarest map in this season of the Quake Pro League.
It's a shiny map right here. It's a shiny 1 in 60,000. Yeah.
Very rare. You need to pull it out of the pack. It's like the mythical rare card to come out. But no, it is indeed a map that is very rarely chosen. It is a relatively slow map, pretty big map as well, not that easy to navigate. So as you mentioned, light champions do help out a lot, but it just hasn't been played all that much at the highest level of professional Quake. And so that is why it is so interesting that we are going to see it played this time. Now, of course, the scores already favored nosfa. He won the first 2 maps, so the victory will be his. But of course, there's money on the line for every single map you play. So Effortless clearly is still going to put in all the effort that he can this time around to secure himself some of that cash.
I mean, we kind of look at these 2 new maps and the different, I think, pick rate over one or the other. And Deep Embrace, I think there's a bit more familiarity there because, Deep Embrace, it is kind of almost seen as an Awoken 2.0. A lot of players just consider it to be another Awoken style map. So I think there's almost like an instant comfort zone. And I think a lot of us can really relate to that it feels familiar, even though it's brand new. Tower of Koth, definitely, I mean, from my side, just, playing various modes on it, it still felt like it took a while for me to just learn the map in general, because it is a kind of unusual map if we're talking about size and shape and everything else. So there is that element of it being so different to everything else that it is going to take players, I think, a bit longer to be comfortable in a position where they can play this at a high level. And here we go. Tower of Koth. Let's go.
Starting things off on Effortless's point of view, of course, running the Athena. So while nosfa has that more consistent maneuverability around the map and in his base movement, it is Effortless who will be more vertically capable when it comes to moving around Koth. Both
Especially
players
around here.
Yeah. No interactions just yet. Effortless did just catch a glimpse of his opponent there, though.
The rail, I think, will be quite important with the map. There's so much distance between the two players, almost all the time. And soaking up hourglasses, heavy as well. I do like Effortless's use, actually, where he's pretty much using that grappling hook when he sees hourglasses, just to take them away from nosfa. The less injections you can give Anarchy, the better.
Looks like nosfa is just gonna hang on to it, though. Sometimes you see players who are very eager to use that ability as early on as possible and then just spam it whenever they can to get their base health stack as high as it can go. nosfa clearly not inclined to do that, wants to hang on to it until he actually needs it to get the health boost mid-fight.
And this is quite interesting to me because there's been a lot of, for a lack of a better term, simply sitting on a point with a rail out and just waiting for them to come around a corner or something. And you don't really see that on the other maps. You're already noticing a little bit of difference here on tower. Effortless has completely just fortified this point. And neither player wants to make a large push yet. But here come the rockets. Rail versus rail. The item means that this should be a chase down for Effortless. And the moment nosfa peeks in to try and see what the deal is, gives up a frag for it. I feel like this is going to be quite a defensive map, Flea.
Indeed, there's actually a very nice delay between the items now. 12 seconds between Mega and Heavy, and this could help Effortless a lot, because by using his ability, he has a very nice line of sight and travel in between these items. As we're jumping into the next fight, Effortless definitely dishing out most of the damage, has got the better weaponry as well. nosfa, I don't know if he already planned to make a stand for Heavy right there, but without doing any prior damage, that seems like a bit of an overconfident move.
And the delay between the two items continues, and this could be quite alarming. And I actually really like this from Effortless too. It's not just the grappling hook, but it is that kind of little jump that she gets that you can definitely tell that Effortless has kind of done his homework here. And Effortless is a player that will do that. Just like to, as I mentioned at the start of the day, those kind of specific little jumps. I know he really relishes those. Oh, nice rail. nosfa goes in for the charge and gets a lot more than he bargained for. Looking like quite a good map for Effortless right now. Impressed. Bam!
That's
finish.
87% rail for Effortless. He's already done nearly 600 points of damage with the railgun alone, and he's hit 87% of the shots fired. Finally, we'll whiz one. nosfa allowed to catch a breather, but still Effortless, looking relentless so far.
Yeah, that missed rail was the only second rail he's missed so far. Oh, he had the right idea. nosfa, I'm still not confident he's going to be able to escape this one. There's just no stack. And how does he get away? He has no choice but to disengage, but there's such a delay between the Heavy and the Mega that there's nothing. nosfa left with the scrap. Wow, this grappling hook, you can just see the difference it makes right here. No other champion in the game will have that much consistent mobility. I feel like this is not going to be anywhere near the last time we see Athena on Tower of Koth, that's for sure. Look at this! Oh! Oh, he saved himself! Oh!
Knocked slightly, of course. Luckily for Effortless, he still had another hook at the ready, because that almost went south for him. This is an opportunity for nosfa, though. Finally securing another major item, stealing away Mega. First one to make it over to Heavy as well. Still has a pretty good read for Effortless is that, though. Doesn't do any damage, but a bit of a warning sign, like, I know you're down there. As he gets every major item on the map. Sets up a rotation for himself.
I really like this patient play from Effortless. Very, very much so. Because, I mean, clearly nosfa doesn't have a clear idea over where Effortless is, and to be fair, this is a large map with all kinds of hiding places. But enough distance that it's not really going to be like other maps where it's just a matter of sticking your ear to the ground and eventually someone's going to make some noise. I think nosfa, he's really struggled to find Effortless, and he can't even listen out for him because of how often Effortless is not picking up items unless he needs to. Even right now, he's waiting for information, knowing now that nosfa has no information, so he's looking for the surprise attack once again. He's been there for like 15 seconds, Flea.
Effortless is just waiting for nosfa to pick up Mega so he can get the exact timing of when that item is going to spawn. Now he's going to pick up the small armor, get himself to that base stack. He's got all the weapons that he needs.
Is he just going to hide for 5 minutes? I feel like that's what he's going to do here, you know?
Oh my god. Nope, lands the rocket from above. Damn, nosfa will pick up on that. I think he probably would have been better off not going for the shot right there.
Yeah. Yeah, I was actually almost expecting him to wait for nosfa to go right on by. But it looked like quite a crucial ring-out location, and nosfa fired a rocket that looked like it kept him back in. I think he got caught on one of those rails on the far side and actually stopped him from getting ring-out right there. Uh-oh, I think he saw you, mate. He saw you. Oh, that one doesn't quite work out. He's trying to pick those traps, but conceding 2 frags quite quickly. There is plenty of this map left to go. nosfa could steal the win at the last second at this rate.
Yeah, this is definitely looking up for nosfa now. Sure, he's still behind, but Effortless doesn't have an LG to work with. Oh! Again, that little ramp stream that you were talking about.
Would not have seen it. We are checking things out from nosfa's point of view, but Effortless almost jumped himself off the ledge, but thankfully had the grappling hook. I will watch from nosfa's point of view now, so no more of those surprises. Yep. Stream going, what are they talking about?
I switched back as well, but that was close. Effortless, the ramp jump nearly sent him flying off. Ooh. And now nosfa just 1 frag behind. I think he heard Effortless, but probably didn't realize that he was above him, not below.
I do like that Anarchy-style rocket jump. Being able to rocket jump, take the Mega, and not even have to touch the pillar before you're back on the surface. And Effortless, this has become quite the problem now. It is nosfa, the one getting the opening damage, and Effortless really unable to return. And even if that rail hit, it would have done nothing to save his skin. That death was guaranteed, and now we've equalized. Mega's about to spawn, and I think that nosfa, he's starting to get a bit familiar and comfortable. Effortless!
Can he get out? Yeah, looks like he can. And that previous frag, that was such a good play from nosfa as well. He knew exactly what Effortless was going to go for. The health bubble and the small armor down towards teleporter. So he just played it patiently and waited for Effortless to come back around. And now the rails chaining together as nosfa, 72% railgun. As Effortless's accuracy is going down, nosfa is only picking things up, revving up the gears. He's going to catch Kai's side of his opponent again.
I'm impressed with this swift turnaround from nosfa, considering he looked so uncomfortable at the start of the map. It almost felt like it took that 4 minutes for him to just figure out what was even going on in this matchup. The Effortless was consistently just playing that strong, like, brick wall defensive game, hitting the rails, almost never missing a shot, catching nosfa by surprise, and nosfa kind of finding his feet. But now it feels like he has truly found his feet, and we have less than 2 minutes to go. This really looked like it was going to be Effortless's map, and in a couple of minutes, somehow nosfa turning things around and then some. The missed rail. As you quite rightly said, that accuracy is not what it was at the beginning. This is a real problem for Effortless now. A shame.
And it also just speaks for nosfa, right? It shows what an excellent competitor he is. There's so many players who would have started maybe to despair a little, right? When you're on a map like this, that you're not familiar with, you're not that comfortable on just yet, and your opponent is an Athena who has a significant lead and is just avoiding you at all costs. But nosfa kept his cool, played his own game, and made his way back into it. But he's not in the clear just yet.
Definitely not.
Effortless, 1 minute left to get 1 more frag. Very doable.
And nosfa doesn't have a lot of weapons either. Looks like he's on track to get a rail at the very least, but it's only just spawned, which actually means I think he's going to have a clear idea that Effortless is nearby. Because if it's only just spawned, I mean, he couldn't have taken it that long ago, surely. However, 30 seconds on the clock, nosfa, the defensive locations, has to listen out. Heavy. Will be able to take this one for free. Can Effortless do anything about this? Immediately looking to get out. Effortless. Oh no, I feel like he's done nosfa a bit of a favor, actually, giving him that speed boost.
15 seconds left. It has to happen now. nosfa, he still has that teleporter. He's gonna go for it. It's LG on LG. One rail will finish it.
There's no injection.
Find the shot. Rocket misses. The second one won't though. Tying it right back up with 4 seconds left to go. Effortless also keeping his cool as he ties it right back up. 6-6.
This is going to be a sweaty few minutes, potentially. Unless it ends right now. I mean, they're quite close to each other. But there's no major items spawning. Not for 20 seconds. There might not even be one picked up at this rate. They're about to potentially clash heads. Effortless, unlikely to use the teleporter straight away, has to delay it. And they're just looking for information. Who is where? Mega, the first objective. Every missed rail makes us clench a little bit, I think, Flea. I mean, they are scary. If nosfa capitalizes in even one of those missed shots, he's going to be able to put that pressure on Thick. However, they both get an item each, so we can have a couple more minutes left in this 1v1.
Good decision from Effortless to just leave and let his opponent take the Mega, because he was down below at the pillar. Bad situation to be in. You can go through the teleporter behind you, but nosfa's waiting. You can stay behind down below, but you're going to be getting a barrage of rockets coming your way. So just using the hook to get out of that situation quickly, giving up the item, perfectly done. It even allowed him to steal away the heavy. Now finally landing some more rails. This means that the American player has a bit of a stack advantage. nosfa is in trouble. Shotgun connects and Effortless, at long last, secures himself the map. That was a close one, Ketchup. Very good game on the new map, Tower of Koth.
And it did look... There's just something about that map that did look a little bit like... Not learning on the fly, because I know players, they are intensely practicing every map here in Pro League, especially the ones that are in that competitive rotation, so you got to know what's going on. But that it definitely still looks like a map that's a work in progress to me. You know, you look at a lot of the other maps, and there's just... Everything is established, whereas here... It was very unusual. It's kind of hard to explain, really. I hope you people at home can kind of catch my drift here, but this map has been quite an interesting one to see, because Effortless, the first few minutes where it was just complete lack of information on nosfa's part. He had no idea where Effortless was, because the map is so big and there's so much distance that you can't constantly listen out for where they are. And even then, the amount of surprise rails Effortless was able to start with, it's almost kind of coming full circle that at the end of the map, he actually gets a frag the exact same way that he got the majority of the beginning. But then nosfa, the turnaround was so impressive, an explosive couple of minutes to stabilize, and then, I mean, the sudden death was exciting still. I'm very, very excited to see a little bit more of the tower in future weeks. I really do hope we start to see it a bit more.
Yep, nosfa played that extremely well. A bit sloppy towards the beginning, as you said yourself, but he did manage to finally find his footing. And the moment that he did and started landing those shots of his own, you could really tell that the movement and the mobility that we saw come out of Effortless in the first few minutes just evaporated, right? We were constantly praising how he used that hook to get around the map from heavy all the way up to the top of the map, quickly onto Mega. But then once nosfa finally got his groove going, Effortless was just more concerned with staying away from his opponent and dodging incoming shots than really cementing himself on the map himself. So very well played from nosfa, but in the end, good to see Effortless still securing himself a map. There were some really close games, and yeah, well played to both players.
I think the 2-1 was the safe bet. You know, 2-1 was absolutely the safe bet. After that first map, it was going to be a little bit challenging, I think. And nosfa going to be feeling pretty good about that overall performance. And it's an important time to get any maps that you can. You know, conceding a 3-0 this late, it's scary times for a lot of players that aren't in the absolute top side of the leaderboards. And there's a lot of things to think about as we go into the coming weeks. Now, I called it an America's Marathon for a good reason, because our next matchup, even after that, it's going to be Maxter and Rafa. Saigib versus Dahang is going to be our next series. So strap yourselves in for more wonderful Americas action to come. We're going to go for a quick break, go grab a drink or a snack or whatever. And in a few minutes' time, we'll be back with more Quake Pro League.